Hello and welcome to the BeeRPad. Are you guys feeling festive? I think we are because we're simply having a wonderful Christmas time.
Yeah,
It is Marcus's favorite time of the year, and it is one of my favorite times of the year also, although not a fan of the cold. I'm happy to be done with that growing up in New York. Yeah, I
I miss
can't.
the cold. It's been 80 degrees today here in LA, and it's
Uh,
not nice.
I am jealous. I am so jealous of
I
that.
want rain. I want cold. I want rain. I want to stay in, have the fire roaring, wear a sweater, drink mugs of tea, and read books and play games and just be all cozy. Um,
You can
so
do
I
all of
mean, that's
that. Just turn the sprinkler on or something.
pointed at the window.
Yes.
Um, yeah, it's. I mean, obviously, you grew up in New York, and I grew up in the UK.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's cold from about July on in the UK.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean there are. It was very rare to have a dry Christmas. Sometimes we had very rarely we had a white Christmas.
Right.
More often than not, it was just a wet Christmas. But I do associate that time of year or this time of year with much colder weather and sweaters and hot teas and coffees, as I said, and just
Yeah.
the smell of cooking and the window steaming up from the heat inside the house, and it's definitely it's an emotional time of year.
Right. In LA, you mostly have wet Christmases, which is, and not because
Well,
of the loose women. No.
well, no, I mean, look, we've had our fair share of 80-degree Christmases where I turn the AC on, which is
Yeah.
just obscene. Thankfully, we have AC, so it's nice to be sniffed at. But this year, apparently, it's going to get cold again. It's going to get wet. So, hurrah!
Yeah.
So, what are we talking about today, Ray?
Today is a musical episode. No, we won't be singing the episode, but we're going to talk about some of our favorite holiday and Christmas songs. And you guys, they are available in the description on Facebook and YouTube and Apple Music and Spotify. So if you want to check out the BeeRPad holiday playlist, it is right there for you. But before
What
we get into
songs
the
have
music,
we picked? You don't want to miss.
I did have a
Pick the playlist.
cultural question for you. What is a British Christmas pudding, and what should I be looking for? Because I want to buy one this year.
Okay, British Christmas pudding. If you go to Cost Plus World Market, they have the Walker's Christmas pudding who do the shortbread, and then they also have, I think, the
Ah,
Glenfiddich Christmas pudding, which is also really good. It's basically mincemeat, which is not meat. It's
it's
citrus
fruity, yeah,
peel, raisins,
yeah, yeah.
sultanas, sometimes nuts, dates, maybe all cooked together and shaped. A lot of alcohol, if you're lucky, hence the Glenfiddich one. Normally, they'd be have
Mm,
brandy.
right, right.
If they don't have alcohol in them, you can make a brandy butter or a brandy custard to pour over them. Always good. Or you could just pour some brandy over them, set fire to it. The alcohol burns off, but the taste
Right.
of the brandy. Don't do it in a really enclosed environment. Just do it somewhere where you're not going to burn the house down. Um, but yeah, Christmas pudding is obviously a very, very huge. I mean, it was a huge staple of Christmas dinners growing up for me. But I actually read a report this week that my homeland, especially millennials and Gen Y,
Oh,
are abandoning the traditional Christmas pudding because it's a little bit stodgier for them, and moving to the more light, the more Italian panettone, which to
yeah,
me is, I mean, panettone is lovely,
yeah.
but it's not. I mean, it's obviously an Italian Christmas dish. So yeah, those damn youngsters are ruining Christmas again.
I blame Caleb. I don't even know if he's watching today or right now, but I will blame him anyway because he is a millennial.
Mark Griffiths is saying that it's fucking freezing in the UK at the moment. I've been watching the Liverpool games, obviously, and you see the frost on the pitch, and it's like I was watching the game on the banger of a game against Fulham on Sunday, and it was. I was like, oh, and as the temperature hits zero, I'm like, no, thank you. I like LA. I miss the cold, but not that much. There's my version of cold where it caps out at about 52 degrees. Anything more than that, I just don't like it.
Uh-huh.
I'm a wuss.
So how this is going to work? We're going to talk about 10 songs. Our playlist has more songs, so feel free to stream them yourself on the
And our
link
playlist
in the
is freaking
description.
awesome. It's basically a meeting of the minds. This mind and that mind.
The other mind.
Yes.
So, Marcus, why don't you kick things off, please, with a Christmas song that we both like?
Okay, so number 5 for me is the classic by John Lennon and Yoko Ono, and it is "Happy Christmas, War Is Over." Um, and to me, this is, I mean, I've got this connection with John Lennon. I mean, obviously, a huge fan of the Beatles, especially later in life when I could appreciate them. But John Lennon was shot on my birthday.
Oh, that's right.
I think he was shot on my birthday anyway. But anyway, this song has a lot of emotional resonance to me because it takes me back to my very first school play in comprehensive school, which is like high school.
Oh,
And we
wow.
did The Wizard of Oz. And actually, no, it wasn't The Wizard of Oz that first year. It was actually 3 different vignette plays. But at the very end, the entire cast came on stage to sing "Merry Christmas, War Is Over." And Happy Christmas, War Is Over. Yeah. And it was just something that is just a warm, fluffy memory. It's the first time I'd really been on stage. I got a big buzz out of it. I really enjoyed myself. And yeah, we all had a great time. And since then, just become one of my Christmas favorites because it takes me back to me being 11 years old in,
Yeah.
Stage Pancake and a costume, standing on stage, having just, delivered, X amount of lines badly. Couldn't act my way out of a paper bag, still can't. But the idea of just being up there on stage with these people, having been through rehearsals after school, and it was just so cool. And then, this is just an important part of that for me.
Yeah, I'm a big Lennon fan myself. For a long time, he was one of the 3 people that I idolized the most, along with Muhammad Ali and Steve Jobs, until I got older and realized that none of them were particularly good fathers or husbands. So,
Well, I mean, look, nobody is perfect, and yeah, I
sure,
mean, John Lennon didn't treat Cynthia Lennon very well, his first wife.
yes,
But I mean, at the end of the day, anybody who goes through life perfect is a fucking liar, as far as I'm concerned. And
yes,
if you are like tainted or cursed with genius, there are other things that go on that's
it's
are
probably a
generally
result
not
of
very good.
brain damage. That is one
Yeah, but
theory.
anyway, what's your number 5, my friend?
I'm going with a classic, the Christmas song by Nat King Cole. The one where, although it's been said many times, many ways, Merry Christmas to you. And I do love a lot of the classic Christmas songs, with Judy Garland, Bing Crosby, Frank Sinatra. But most of my list is pretty modern, except for this one. This is out of all the classic Christmas songs, this is the one that resonates with me the most, partially because Nat King Cole is a phenomenal singer and a phenomenal person. I don't know if he was a good father or husband, but let's say he is for the sake of the holidays.
Well, I mean, Natalie Cole is his daughter, and she seems to
Yes,
have been quite well adjusted. I mean, yeah, this is an absolute banger as well. I mean, his voice is amazing,
so
and
silky. Yeah,
yeah, we're very lucky to have all these um, outstanding songs from the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, some even before.
some
And
yeah, some even before.
I don't know if we'll get to the end of the list, but there's so many that we could have put on there, and you'll see them all on our very very awesome playlist.
And one aside, as I was putting together my list, I didn't realize how old Jingle Bells was. I believe it's from the late 1800s. I'm like, what? I
Yeah, quite
I had
possibly. Yeah.
no idea. Yeah, so that was pretty cool. Um, Yours is an interesting one. You're getting into some picks from some people I've never heard of. One that I really want to know more about, but this one is from an artist that I'm totally unfamiliar with. So if you can tell me about the song and a little bit about the artist as well, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, so this is Shakin' Stevens. Now, Shakin' Stevens is a Welsh pop star from the 80s. He styled himself on Elvis in a lot of ways.
Oh,
He had the quiff, and it
I mean,
was like Elvis style rock and roll. There he is. There's Shaky, as we like to call him. Merry Christmas, Everyone was one of these songs again that from the 80s, from my time as a teenager, played at discos, school discos, etc., etc. And
oh,
then, as I got to the age where, left school, started going out with my mates, going. And when I was growing up, when I was in my teens, late teens and early 20s, I was very lucky because, there's a huge culture office parties going out in the UK. Every store would have music playing, every pub would have Christmas music playing, and every pub would be packed, and it was just this revelry, and it was amazing. And it's totally different now because the entire pub system's dying on its arse. And over here in America, you don't really have that same thing, which really, really sucks. But yeah, this is just a song for me that takes me back to being at this this pub near my parents' house called the King Hotel. That is sadly no longer there. It's been demolished and has been rebuilt as a coffee shop and a little grocery store. But with a bunch of my mates, and it's Christmas Eve. We're out having drinks because we're all perhaps back in town. We're in our early 20s, having moved off to different things, gone to college, etc. We're all back in town, and we come out on Christmas Eve. We're in a little pub crawl, and this is playing, and we're just drinking and singing along and laughing and seeing old school friends. And it's just one of those quintessential experiences for me. And it just makes me smile so much because, again, going back to my childhood, the older you get, the more you do appreciate perhaps the years that have come before. Obviously, when you're experiencing them, you think, oh, I wish I was older with lots of money or whatever. This, that, the other. But yeah, adulting is hard. But, going through and I wouldn't wish it on anybody now. I would not want to be a teenager or somebody in their early 20s now because it's just so hard out there. But yeah, that's my thing. So it's give it a listen. It's an earworm, and it just it's one of my faves.
My next pick is something that most Americans probably under 50 should be familiar with. It is from Saturday Night Live. I wish it was Christmas Today. It had Jimmy Fallon, Horatio Sands, that guy that Norm Macdonald didn't, Chris Kattan. Norm Macdonald did not like him, and Tracy Morgan. So they did this song. It was totally random. There was a backpacker guitar in Fallon's office, and Horatio was playing this little riff. And Fallon's like, hey, we should do a song with this. Let's make it a Christmas song. And they just kept playing in his office. Then Tracy Morgan walks in, didn't really know what they were playing. He's like, yo, I want to be in this. And then we got this sketch, which they've done many times. They've performed it in other Christmas episodes. They did a Halloween version and an Easter version, and I enjoy them all. It's a simple song. And in the original, it's kind of hard to see with his head down, but Fallon looks so young here. I mean, the others kind of basically look the same, so good for them. But Tracy Morgan's dancing in this just cracks me up every time. And last Christmas, no, I did not give you my heart, but I played the song with my family. We were just messing around. We made my nephew sing. My brother was playing keyboards. I was playing the guitar. And it is a simple song that makes me laugh, makes me smile. I don't know if you've watched these episodes.
I am very familiar with it because the SNL Christmas special where they show, it's on every single year. And I do love a lot of the SNL stuff. I mean, I came this close to putting Christmas Time for the Jews on because that is my favorite SNL Christmas one. Because with Darlene Love, and it's just such a banging song. It's actually on my own personal playlist. This one, yes, it's an earworm. My wife loves it because for some reason she thinks Horatio Sands is the funniest motherfucker on the planet.
Really?
I, however, have this issue with Sands and Fallon in particular.
The breaking?
Yeah, I mean, they're just so unprofessional. And it's like, they became famous for it and this, that, and the other. And I'm just like, they ruined so many sketches. I mean, Tracy Morgan is a light of his own making. He marches, he makes everything cooler. I didn't like him at first, and he has grown on me. And Kattan is somebody who, I mean, I came to America just after they'd all finished their run. And so I started watching SNL after that, so I can appreciate it.
Right. They weren't your guys.
But I really, considering I can't stand half of that ensemble, I'm glad you enjoy it. But Christmas Time for the Jews wins every time.
So there's actually no recording of this by the SNL cast, which I think is kind of criminal because they would make a lot of money off it. But there is a Cheap Trick version that is included in our playlist, which imagine Cheap Trick playing this song, this simple little dorky song, and applying the Cheap Trick heavy guitars and
not corpsing.
Yeah. So your
And
next pick is actually something that I didn't realize this artist had an entire Christmas album until you introduced me to her songs on this list, which shocked the hell out of me, frankly.
yeah, and I just realized when I sent it to you, there was actually a typo with her
I
name,
I
and it
corrected
was
it.
yeah. And this is from Sia's Christmas album, and this one is Snowman, and there's two songs on it in particular. First of all, it's an absolutely superb Christmas album. There's two songs on it, and this was a toss up between this one and Santa's Coming for Us. Now, Santa's Coming for Us is track down the video because the video is so funny. It's got Henry Winkler in it. It's got Dax Shepard in it. It's got
Whoa.
a bunch. I mean, it really is. It's got JB Smoove in it. It's really,
Wow.
really funny. And it's just another fantastic earworm. But this one also has a fantastic video because Sia is such a great visual artist.
Yes.
And this one's more claymation. And it's just such a sad or sweet, bittersweet song. And it's a love story between a snowman and a snow lady, or it's between two snow people. And it's just haunting and beautiful. When you combine it with the video and you see what's going on, it's just a wonderful, wonderful song. And like I said, Sia's Christmas album is absolutely fantastic. It's right up there with the Michael Bublé Christmas album, but his are all covers. This one is all amazing original songs that just go everywhere. I've become a huge fan of Sia over the years, and my wife actually had seen her years ago before she got mega huge. But yeah, I think she's fantastic, and I think this song is, if it doesn't tug at the cold recesses of the heartstrings, then you're officially dead.
So is it them like slowly melting and dying as the song goes on?
Well, actually, if you watch it, it covers everything.
Uh-huh.
It's a story. She tells a story, and the video complements it perfectly.
I will watch this for sure. I only listened to it, so I actually had no idea there was a claymation video. Now
Yeah,
I'm
it's
even
really
more
good.
interested in it.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So what do you got at number 3, brother?
This one is kind of a regional pick, and this one is special to me. As Marcus mentioned earlier, I grew up in New York, and Bruce Springsteen is the king of New Jersey until John Bon Jovi supplanted him. Don't tell Paul Semmel I said that. So Bruce Springsteen was obviously a lot bigger on the East Coast than he is in the West Coast, even though he does have somewhat global popularity. But in the tri-state area, this guy is one of the kings, and he does this rockin' version of Santa Claus is Coming to Town. I don't know if the entire E Street band is with him on. Clarence Clemens is definitely playing saxophone, and he does this kick-ass solo, and Bruce mentions about Santa getting Clarence a new saxophone. But yeah, I don't know why it's only credited to Bruce on all streaming services. And another interesting part is that he films this video at CW Post, which is a college on Long Island, where my brother actually attended and got his undergrad. So this song also makes me think of my brother, which is also a lovely thing during the holidays. Did Bruce Springsteen mean anything to you growing up in Wales?
I mean, Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA is a huge album.
Right.
Born to Run, Dancing
Yes.
in the Dark. I mean, so many, Born in the USA. I mean, there are so many songs that actually charted during the 80s, and he continued to be. I mean, he's a global megastar.
Right.
It's not, it's obviously not just the US, and he is huge. And again, I hadn't heard this one until I moved to the States, but this is one that's on my playlist too. And obviously there's lots of different versions of Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
Yes.
But it's it's a great song. I mean, it's more rock and roll, and it's funny. I mean, the rock and roll ones don't necessarily play too well in general, I think, in the UK. But yeah, I think this one it's just an excellent song, and it's a great version of an outstanding song.
Yes. So your next pick is another, I guess, artist or bunch of characters I'm unaware of. But when I saw the screen of them, I'm like, who the hell are these guys? I want to hang out
Okay,
with
so
these guys.
cast your mind back to the 1970s. The era of glam rock was huge, especially in the UK. And there was a group, Roy Wood and Wizard. First of all,
Mm.
the Wizard. I mean, it was awesome. And this song is "I Wish It Could Be Christmas Every Day," which again, growing up, I mean, this is one of my youngest memories of listening to this on the radio because it came out in the mid to early to mid 70s. And there's a kids choir on it, and it's just a great sort of like danceable song. The 70s and 80s, there you go. That's Roy Wood front and center. The 70s and 80s in particular were a golden time for Christmas songs in the UK. I mean, you had everybody releasing Christmas songs to get to number one. You'd have like 4 or 5 Christmas songs in the top 10. And unfortunately, it's a tradition that's really sort of like moved away. I think it's after Mariah Carey released "All I Want for Christmas Is You" and just basically killed the market.
Yes.
Thanks, Mariah. But this is just, it's got a great hook. It's got the words. I mean, it fills me with this wonderful nostalgic memory, and that's what Christmas is. I mean, you
Yeah.
celebrate Christmas now and you create new memories, but every Christmas is better because of the Christmases that come before, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And this is just, I mean, and I play these on my playlist around the house, and my wife, who'd never heard any of these before, can now sing Shakin' Stevens. She can sing Wizard.
Nice.
There's a song by Slade. Who else is there? I mean, there's just a slew of songs.
The Kinks
Uh,
has one of
you
my favorites.
Let's see, "Merry Christmas, Everybody" by Slade. That's another one. And then we have like "Fairy Tale of New York" and
Yeah.
the "Wonderful Christmas Time" by Paul McCartney. These are Elton John, Queen. These were all released in the 70s and 80s by British bands, and that's because, again, I've said this before to you, and I think thousands of other people, is that we don't have Thanksgiving, so we roll out of Halloween straight into Christmas prep. So Christmas starts the first week in November and finishes in the new year. So we get a freaking solid 2 months of it, and it's just the best way to be, because for 2 months a year, 90% of the people out there are not fucking assholes anymore.
Nice.
Because we managed to put aside all these things and try and find some cheer. And it's changed a lot over the last 10 years, especially with austerity and COVID, the cost of living crisis, the wars in Ukraine and in the Middle East again.
Yeah.
So it's hard to find anything to smile about. But when I put my Christmas playlist on and I hear Wizard, or I hear Slade, or I hear Wham,
Yeah. Yeah.
it makes me happy.
I mean, how can you not smile at these guys? When I was looking up this song, I wasn't sure if they were a band or if they were a children's show produced by 2 people that took too many mind-altering drugs in the 60s.
Dude, it's glam rock. I mean, it's Mark Bolan, it's T-Rex, it's Thin Lizzy.
Yeah.
It's, these groups that were, they predated the rockers of the 80s, the Twisted Sisters, the the bands who wear the spandex and have
Yeah.
the hair. These guys predated them because they were rocking the shiny flares, they were rocking the long hair. They were all skeletally thin, and
because of the drugs.
because of the cocaine, probably. But yeah, that's the glam rock movement is just a wonderful, wonderful period of history. And you'll see these fashions come back in. But yeah, I recommend giving the video a listen again.
Guys, if you're watching this, I don't know if you're getting the same feeling I'm getting, but when I see this picture, I'm like, these guys did it right. I mean,
well, that's the thing. You want to be there for Christmas, or you want those guys to turn up outside your house, sing carols with that blasting.
Yes. Now, my next pick comes from your side of the Atlantic, and you briefly mentioned it before, but it is Fairy Tale of New York by the Pogues, featuring Kirsty MacColl. We just lost Shane MacGowan. So
and we lost Kirsty MacColl a couple of years ago as well.
Yeah, very tragically too.
Yeah.
And It's a shame because she had a great single that a lot of Americans didn't know until the Tracy, whatever her name was, show.
Tracy Ullman.
Tracy Ullman, yes. Susanna Hoffs does a great cover of it as well. That's actually one of my most frequently played songs. But Fairy Tale of New York, it is literally a story being told in song. And I became familiar with this song in my late teens growing up in New York because I hung out in a lot of Irish pubs because they would serve me when I wasn't yet 21. And I made a lot of great Irish friends who I still keep in touch with today. And of course, they played a ton of Pogues every night. And this was one of the most frequently played songs. Didn't matter what time of the year it is. This song always played at least once a night. And it's a beautiful song. There's a great call and response between Shane and Kirsty that it's so good. There is an outdated word that they use that they don't use in later performances because we don't use that word anymore, but it's there in the original. So it was a different time.
Again, it's a time capsule.
Yeah.
Isn't it? I mean, and
yes.
This is the thing. There are some songs that, haven't made the playlist that
Right.
were very acceptable in their day, and even up until maybe the beginning of the last decade.
Yeah.
But are not acceptable now because we have grown and evolved as the human race.
Yes.
Something we don't do very often. And I don't have a problem with people saying that makes me uncomfortable, especially if the first time they're watching it, whether it be listening to this song, watching a TV show, watching a movie. They have every right to be uncomfortable because they have no frame of reference. But I would also say that there are people who have also grown and evolved who are listening to these songs, watching the movies, the TV shows, etc. from the past, and say, I understand that is wrong. This is how it was back then. We're not going to sugarcoat our history. We did talk like that. We may not be proud of it, but this isn't. We don't want to whitewash our history.
Right.
So there is a word that has been replaced with maggot, which works and absolutely works. It works with the flow. It works with everything. And I don't have a problem with that. With that. Obviously, I can't use the original word. I wouldn't want to. Same with Baby It's Cold Outside.
Yes.
There's actually a movie called
Love Hard.
Netflix, Love Hard, where they do the consensual version, which is absolutely hysterical. And it's a great counterpoint because you've got that for people who, and you still got the same basis of the tune, and then you still got the original version. I think they can coexist. They can all coexist.
And a lot of it, growing up with It's Cold Outside, I never thought that it was a date rape song, but as I read the lyrics, I'm like, hey, what's in that drink? Whoa, what's going on here?
Well, I think it was this was before the days of date rape drugs because this is the song from the 60s.
Yeah.
Maybe even the 50s. So it's like, what's in that drink? Well, he's giving a porter a double.
Right.
It's
not a roof. It's not roofling.
Yeah, it's not a roof beat, but it doesn't sound good, and I understand and accept that. And at the end of the day, it's a guy trying to get laid.
Yes.
And let's face it, guys have done that, and I'm not defending it at all. But
it's a weird twist on that elf scene, though.
It does. It really does. That scene has not aged well. They really should recut that. But going back to Fairy Tale of New York, I mean, again, like the best Christmas songs, Fairy Tale of New York tells a story. It's between two lovers who the song is a fight. I mean, they go back and forth. 1 minute they're complimenting each other and being lovey, and then boom, it's off into a fight, and then it's back, and it just goes to show how they got a volatile relationship,
right? And it reflects that musically and lyrically because the pace of the song, the tempo changes a few times. So I love how they did that. It's so good.
It's a Christmas classic.
Yes, as is your next pick, which is from my neck of the woods, actually.
Yeah, well, let's face it. It was December 24th in Hollis Ave after dark when I seen the man chilling with the dog in the park. I approached him very slowly with my heart full of fear, looked at his dog. Oh, my God, an ill-rained deer. It's Christmas in Hollis from the legends that are Run DMC and Jam Master Jay, which is it's probably my favorite band of all time.
Really?
Hip-hop group. Absolutely, man. I mean, good God. I wore out my tapes of King of Rock, which is their second album, and Run DMC, which is their first album. I've got all their albums. I went and rebought them. I've got them on, digital. I've got them on CD, but I bought them all on vinyl again.
Nice.
I had a Run DMC Raising Hell T-shirt in school that when I was a teenager, that I wore so much apart.
Did you have the shell tops?
I didn't have a shell suit, so I thankfully I didn't have that fashion disaster. But my Adidas, I still rock Adidas to this day. When Jam Master Jay was murdered, I was heartbroken because I knew I'd never get to see them live in concert. But this is just a wonderful song, and if you seen the movie the night before, you see Seth Rogen, Anthony Mackie, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt covering this, and it's absolutely a wonderful song to do on karaoke. But yeah, I mean, there they are: Jam Master Jay, rest in peace, Reverend Run, and Daryl Mack, DMC, the greatest hip hop band on the in the history of the world.
God, they're so young in this.
They are so young, but I mean, they were just so brilliant. And watch Crush Groove if you haven't seen Crush Groove, because they're in that. And it's just a song. It's just a song that fills my heart with joy. Sean and I were running errands before doing the show tonight, and it came on my playlist, and I just literally turned up the volume. She was outside getting something, and by the time she came back, I was going, and I know the words, and it's just my name's DMC with the mic in my hand, and I'm chilling and cooling just like the Snowman. So open your eyes, lend us an ear. We want to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I mean, that is it. I mean, it's a great video too. If you've seen the video, it's so quintessentially 80s, low budget. It could have been an episode of Doctor Who. It's so low budget, but it's just the number one song for me. So much so that I actually play it when it's not Christmas. But yeah, I mean, the fact that Jam Master Jay was murdered and Daryl Mack lost his voice means that we'll never get Run DMC again. They'll never tour, understandably so. And it just makes me very, very sad because that would have been a lifelong ambition for me. But yeah, love the song, love the video. It feels like New York. It feels like an American New York Christmas. And so, yes, I'm going to say thank you to those upstairs who aren't with us anymore, and just, enjoy it. So what's your number one, my friend?
In a funny twist, your top pick is from my neck of the woods. So my top pick is actually from your neck of the woods. It is Band-Aid's Do They Know It's Christmas? I love this song so much. Like you with Christmas in Hollis, I listened to this shit in July and August.
Well, this didn't make my list because I knew it was on yours. And again, this is a quintessential classic. So please continue, my friend.
I mean, just the collection of talent, and especially keep it in context at this time. Like Boy George, Culture Club was so big in the 80s. U2, The Police, Bananarama, Spandau Ballet,
Ultravox, Mature, who co-wrote it with Bob Geldof,
Phil Collins.
And they pulled these people together after a industry party. Basically, I think it was like a music awards, and they'd already written a song. They pulled everybody together and they recorded it in one night.
And randomly, I love how Kool and the Gang is there because they were at said party. But it just seems when they do cutaways to the group and you're seeing all these famous British artists, and then what the fuck's Kool and the Gang doing here?
Yeah, you got Bananarama in there. You got Andy Lennox, Eurythmics, Dave Stewart,
Paul Young. Paul Young kicks it off. That was
Paul McCartney.
That line was actually originally written for David Bowie, but he could not go. Yeah. So
some guy named Bono.
Yes.
He does a line that apparently is your favorite line.
That is my favorite line of any song. Where, I mean, this song, it's not a good song. The lyrics are kind of stupid. I mean, they talk about the only water flowing is the bitter sting of tears, but the Nile is right in Ethiopia. So that is.
Well, no, I mean, at the end of the day, this was based on this was recorded during an epic drought and famine. The famine had come from the epic drought. I mean, let's face it, anybody who has seen the Nile knows that if you drink that water, you will die.
Yes,
The
but I
Nile
mean,
is, has been used like the Ganges. Those two rivers have been used for sewerage and for washing and for everything, and they're so polluted that you couldn't even boil the water to try and make it healthy.
but
But I mean, this was obviously written in, the story broke, and I'll give you the context from my neck of the woods, if that's okay. The BBC broke the story of the Ethiopian famine because it hadn't really been covered. And it was literally, there was an in-depth report, I think, on a TV show called Newsnight. And Bob Geldof had watched it. And Bob Geldof, passionate Irishman, absolutely, but in an awesome way. Boomtown Rats,
yeah,
big in the 70s, hadn't really done much in the 80s. But, he called one of his oldest friends, Midge Ure, who was the lead singer of Ultravox, one of the greatest love songs ever, by the way, Vienna by Ultravox. You should definitely listen to it. And they wrote this song. They banged it out over one night, one weekend, whatever it was. So,
and it
I mean,
showed.
yes, it's not exactly going to be amazing. And then they started calling people, and they said, "All right, we're doing this after party," and everybody got together. And the fact that everybody left their egos at the door. There was no fighting over, oh, I'm going to have to sing this, or I'm walking. Everybody had a line. Some people didn't even have a line, and they were huge people.
Yeah,
Huge bands, and it was the cream of the British pop movement in the 80s. And when it was recorded and it and went to press, and it came out within like 5 days of it being recorded, because I remember buying my little single for 99 pence from W.H. Smith, and it was just, it was number one for the longest time. Famously kept Last Christmas off the number one spot in the UK.
that was very close to being on my list too. The Wham song,
which is
song.
a Stone Cold classic. So yeah.
So going to your point of how big these stars were, I mean, this wasn't one take. They recorded this several times, and they picked and choose which vocals and which harmonies worked best. And they actually had some of the artists re-record it. So getting stars of this magnitude to do this song pretty much last minute, it was pretty amazing. And I do like the song musically. I think it's well constructed. I think some of the harmonies are fantastic. Lyrically, it is kind of not the most.
I'll disagree with you. I think lyrically it's absolutely perfect. It is a Christmas song. It's there to evoke the heartstrings. They made the video again while they were recording.
How can you justify "Tonight"? Thank God it's them instead of you. That does not work in any context.
But isn't that human? That is human nature. I mean, we're like, oh, my life is so hard, this, that, and the other, while I'm sitting in a nice house or a house. I have a roof over my head. I have food and the thing. And people couldn't equate back then to, we talk about the 80s. There was no internet, there was no Twitter, no Facebook. All we got, I mean, in Britain, we had 3 channels. We had BBC One, BBC Two, and ITV. We didn't even have Channel 4 back then.
I mean, that doesn't answer the question. How is that a good line?
It is a great.
Tonight, thank God I'm not a starving African. I mean,
basically, tonight you should thank God for what you've got, no matter how little it is, because there is somebody much worse.
There is a better way to say that.
But I mean, again, it's a song, dude, and it has to rhyme, it has to fit the melody. And you are more of the musician than I am. I 100% acknowledge that and bow down to your musical skills. But I mean, at the end of the day, I will not hear a bad word against this song.
Well, I mean, it was bad enough that they took it out in later versions. So,
Well, I mean, I disagree with that. And look, let's face it, the later versions of Do They Know It's Christmas are shit.
Yes. But I mean,
absolute dog shit.
The artists aren't as good either, even though some of them.
Time capsule, one moment in time. This song, absolutely perfect for everything it pulls together, and you were right to have it at number one. And if you hadn't had it at number one, it would probably be number one. And mine, I would have bumped everything back one, and then said, "I gotta have sex." So yes, I bow down to your choice, because it is fantastic.
So I mentioned Last Christmas by Wham just missed my list. Was there anything that was close for you that you had a hard time? Do I put this one in? The Kinks was on there because I think Ray Davies rocking the guitar in a Christmas song is pretty awesome.
Well, as I said, Merry Christmas, Everybody by Slade. That could have been on there. Last Christmas could have been on there. Wonderful Christmas Time by Paul McCartney, another totally earworm. Then we've got Step Into Christmas by Elton John, another earworm. Thank God It's Christmas by Queen. The fact that Queen did a Christmas song.
Yes.
There's Chris Rea and Driving Home for Christmas, which is just a very mellow, touching song. Obviously, we've got the classic that I only heard for the first time when I moved here, I moved to LA in particular, but it's become one of my go-tos and makes me smile every time, and that's Jose Feliciano and Feliz Navidad. Then we're looking at where is it?
That's Carlos's favorite song.
Christmas, Baby Please Come Home by Darlene Love.
Yes.
That's another banger. Christmas Tree Farm by Taylor Swift. I've never been a huge Taylor Swift fan, but this one came into the video rotation on Apple Music for Christmas videos, and I watched it. And it's just really, really fun. You've got two from Stevie Wonder, What Christmas Means to Me and Someday at Christmas. I mean, the Someday at Christmas is, that's an anthem of hope right there. Then there's one that I really would have liked to have dropped in there. And that's on the these are all on the playlist, by the way. But it's Christmas in Sarajevo, 1224.
Yes,
Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
That's a great one.
And it's an orchestral song, but you put it on a good pair of speakers, turn them up, and just be drowned in the passion and the sheer amazingness of all these musicians coming together as an orchestra, and you just let it wash over you, and it is so powerful.
So if you're not familiar with the song, the main riff is the melody from Carol of the Bells, but it just rocks, and it's like borderline. The feel of it is so heavy and powerful, and the orchestra does such a tremendous job.
It's like Led Zeppelin did a Christmas instrumental.
Right.
I mean, that's how good this is. And like I said, I could have done a Christmas top 20. And obviously, like I said, Christmas Time for the Jews is another one. But there are bangers by the likes of Kelly Clarkson.
Yeah.
Where is it? Leona Lewis, Sleigh Ride by the Ronettes. And then we haven't even touched on, there is Mariah Carey. But there is the all-time, there is the god of Christmas cover songs, the man whose album sells out every year, and that is the Bublé.
Mm-hmm.
The Michael Bublé, who has just been doing these Christmas standards. He released this one song, this one album about a decade ago, and every year, there's some countries where it is the #1 album every Christmas, and it's like, how many people are buying more than one copy? Do they lose their copy and come back for another one? Because I think it was like Australia or something. It was like the #1 album at Christmas every year for like 6 years. I mean, how many people in Australia? I mean, is there somebody who has a house made entirely out of this album? But there are so many great standards in there. I just where is it? Have Yourself a Merry Christmas is obviously one of them. And the classic It's Beginning to Look a Lot Like Christmas.
Right.
Which is, again, these have all been used. The Home Alone theme tune by John Williams. That's another one. That is just a great one as well. Recently rewatched that.
Right. So let's go to the comments section before we take off. Our excellent friend Mark can confirm that it is freezing in the UK at the moment.
It's fucking freezing. It's brass monkey weather, man.
Carlos also wants to curse Gen Y.
We love them, and we weep for their future.
I just love them. Can't think of Shakin' Stevens without thinking of Standing in the Cop singing Main Scoring all around us. Copite singing.
No, it's Manet scoring all around us.
Yes.
Copite singing, having fun. 'Tis the season. Love and understanding.
Now here's
Merry Christmas, Everton. And I apologize for the singing. I can't sing to save my life.
Was Bruce still the boss in the UK? Did they call him that?
Okay. That's the thing. He was called the boss, and that translated over. Yeah.
Wizard is in Mark's top 3 as well.
Absolutely, because Mark's got great taste.
A Fairy Tale of New York is the best Christmas song. Spent many of Christmas years pissed out of my. Yes. Take a bow, Marcus, with that number one pick, which also features in the number one Christmas movie. Ah, there's an interesting debate. Respect for having Band-Aid on your list. Yes. I mean, I look at that. Sting looks so young there that he looks more like who's that short comedian? He looks like David Spade in the video. It's so weird.
And I never realized that Band-Aid meant sticking plaster, because Band-Aid, they weren't called Band-Aids in the UK at the time.
Ah, who was the prominent? Was there a brand that was more popular? Because Band-Aid is a brand of that, isn't it?
Yeah, Elastoplast. That was it.
Surprise, Wonderful Christmas Time never got a mention, but it did in the almost made it.
If I did, if Ray had let me done a top 10, top 20 British Christmas songs ever.
A Spaceman Came Traveling. I do not know this one.
I don't either.
And shout out to West Side Connection. It's the holidays, which is a regular in my Christmas playlist, mainly because Mom hates it. Well, we got to do something to annoy the parents every now and then, don't we? But yeah, that ties it up for our Christmas playlist. As I mentioned, and as Marcus mentioned, you can find these playlists in the descriptions on our Facebook and YouTube pages for this video. It's available on Apple Music and Spotify. Just look for the BeeRPad holiday playlist. And starting next week, we will be talking about our favorite things of the year, movies, games, separate episodes, of course. But a lot of content in general this year. It's kind of overwhelming.
Yeah, we'll probably be going through until January with our. We've got movies, we got TV shows, we got games.
Yeah,
games in particular is going to be interesting because
that's going to be the hard one, I think.
Yeah. I've got my top three, my friend. I've got my top three. In fact, I could actually bang out a top five very easily, and then just toss out the cold to the two particular titles that eminently disappointed me.
Well, we shall see. I'm looking forward to hearing your picks. Guys, please leave a comment with us with your favorite Christmas songs. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel. All our socials are up there. And we will see you next week on the BeeRPad. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.
Bye.